Hi, welcome to Doodle Club. We're going to try something a little bit different today. We're going to draw a skull kind of in a broken spacesuit, but with loads of like mushrooms and drips and weird stuff coming out of it as well. So yeah, I'm going to show you one of the techniques, one of the few reasons why I use pencils in my artwork is so that we can get this kind of effect working. Okay, so let me show you what materials we're going to use today. I'm going to stick with, I'm going to use, so slightly different. I can use my A5 sketchbooks. I'm drawing a little bit smaller today. And because I'm drawing smaller, I'm just going to use my Fineliner pen. So no Posca pens in sight today. We will need a pencil. We're going to throw in quite a few guidelines with the pencil. And then from a pen point of view, I'm using Unipin pens. I'm using a 0.1 for the real close-up detail, a 0.5 for some of the fatter lines, and then a brush pen to help me with some of the more varied lines, the lines where the weight changes, where the thickness of the line changes. You can really get that with a brush pen. It's got a slightly softer nib that kind of flows like a brush. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but once you're used to it, I'm sure it'll be one of your favourite pens to have. Okay, should we zoom in? Let's zoom in a little bit closer than that. There we go. So let's start with our artwork, shall we? So my suggestion would be is you might even want to use a compass for these next few bits. We're going to draw in some curves. Okay, first curve is going to be one for the top of the helmet, so don't go too close to the edge because we are going to go a little bit bigger with this helmet. This is mainly the inside of the hard part of the helmet. Okay, so let's go for something like that. How's that looking on screen? That's not too bad. Something like that. So it's almost a circle with this bottom bit taken out. And the reason we take that bottom bit out is because we're just going to bring a line that goes from one side to the other with a slightly wider curve. Okay, you could kind of get the same effect with one circle there and then a massive circle there and just crossing them over, but you know, it doesn't matter if it's wonky. Don't get too hung up about it if it's wonky. It's no biggie. Okay. Right, what we're going to do now is we're just going to go round that shape one more time. So from about here, let's give it a bit of a border all the way around. Remembering this is just your guideline. You don't have to get these bits perfectly right. It's just a guideline to help us get the ink bits in about the right place. Okay, we've got that in. So that's kind of the helmet. This is the hard part of the helmet. Okay, we will go we'll add a few more bits of furniture and bits down the bottom and stuff like that. In fact, let's do that now. Look, just down here. Look, let's bring that down there. Bring that down there. And join that across. And then I reckon over on either side, and no, we'll put the other bits of furniture in later. That's fine as it is. What I'm going to do now though is that's the hard part of the helmet. I'm going to put this like soft cushiony bit, you know, the padded bit on the inside of the helmet. So let's start at the top here. Let's go and put a padded bit in. It just goes to the bottom like that. Like that. This padded bit to help us, well, let's go and put some extra lines in. 1, 2, 3 like that. Let's do one on the other side and like that as well. A lot of this side is going to be covered up by a bit of broken glass, so don't worry too much about it being perfectly symmetrical at this stage, okay? Right then, next bit. Let's go and put in the skull of our character. We're going to start with the eyes. Now I want to go quite low down with this so we can just put the eyes and the nose in. We haven't got to worry too much about the teeth. So you want to see like that's our central point just there. In fact, I will see if I can zoom in a little bit closer for this bit. There we go. You can still see the whole piece there. So yeah, that bit, and then we're going to put in, I'm just going to do like a pretty standard kind of skull, so kind of square eyes. Doesn't matter if they're symmetrical. Try not to go too circular. Circular's a little bit boring when it comes to this. Let's go and put in the nose. So with the nose, let's go put a teardrop that side, teardrop that side. Again, don't worry about it being symmetrical. It's all okay. Excellent. Once we've got that bit in, let's go and put some more bits in. So when I'm drawing skulls, I like to put the cheekbones in next. So the cheekbones are just lines that they go round the eye, but they kind of poke out down here a little bit. So let me show you what I mean by that. So kind of going round the eye. Maybe start off there, look round the eye. When you get to this point, let's go and put in a bit of a cheekbone on that side. We'll do something similar on the other side. So let's go around the eye. Bit of a cheekbone. The reason I like doing them is because everything else kind of falls out of that. So we're going to go from the side of this one's eye to the side of this eye with the head now. So let's go for something quite wonky. Like that for the head of the skull. And then we'll bring it down underneath these cheekbones, just kind of going into where the jaw would be. So across there, look. And across there for where the jaw would be. Fab. So we've got all the detail we need really for our helmet, especially for the inside. We're going to carry on doing a couple more lines on the inside and the outside. And again, the reason I'm doing all these lines is just so that I can show you how I would get, one of the reasons why I use lines. Pencil lines in my artwork, and don't always go straight in with a pen. Okay, next thing we're going to do, let's put a big crack of glass across this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a big chunk of what we've just drawn here and be throwing in a bit of glass. So let's go for something just there. See how it's going across the eye, then let's go take it up a little bit. Let's bring it back in so it goes across the helmet there. It's got that big line, so all of this side is going to be glass. Let's go and add another little shard of glass just here, look. Just kind of poking out a little bit. What I'm going to do is I am going to rub out some of these lines just to make it a little bit easier for you to see what we're drawing here. So let me find a rubber. Easier said than done. I think because I don't use pencils that much, I don't have that many rubbers kind of knocking around the studio. Definitely not in there. Okay. So rubbing out some lines. So you remember this bit was all under glass, so I'm going to rub out all of these bits over here. I mean, if you're confident enough, you could just leave these bits in until right at the end, but what I want to do is I just want to show you what it's going to look like so you've got a bit of an idea, so you don't have to worry too much about all this symmetry that we've gone after. All this bit is going to be behind a bit of glass, whatever an astronaut's screen is made from. Like that. This little cheekbone is just in front of this bit of padding, so let's bring that back to the front as well. That little line that was in the centre, let's get rid of that as well. This is a bit messy down here. I'm just going to tidy that up a little bit. So there you go, that's kind of where you should be at. Okay, so try and get yourself into a position where it looks roughly like that. Of course, don't get hung up about it looking perfect. The whole point is that everybody draws something slightly different. Fabulous. Well, let me zoom out a little bit. We are just going to add a few more little elements to this. So just across the top, let's do a little curve. Starts about the same place on each side. Little curve going across the top, an extra one. Down the bottom, let's just put some little bits of, give ourselves something to work with. So just right in the middle here, use that nose as a bit of a guide for where the middle is. Let's go and put a little kind of buckle bit with a few shapes. Going from behind the helmet. Bit of a wonky old line coming out of there for the shoulders. One last line around there, bit of a neckline going on there. That looks terrible over this side. Let's try that again. Look. So hold fire. I could just edit that bit out of the video, but I like showing you when things go wrong and how easy it is just to fix it. Just want it to go a little bit more like that. A little bit more of a gap. Okay, 2 more lines, then we're definitely getting on with it. Just over here, look, 1, 2 there. Same kind of thing on the other side. 1, 2 there. It's just we're hopefully going to demonstrate that this is like the back of the helmet. So this is like the inner rim of the helmet down the jawline, goes backwards, gets to that, and then it goes over the top. Hope that makes sense. Okay, now the reason I like drawing pencil lines is usually so that when I'm breaking those lines, I can make sure they're aligned perfectly, or at least aligned in a way that makes sense to me. Okay, now what I mean by that is we're going to go over with the brush pen. We're going to go over some of these lines. We're going to add loads of drips. We're going to start at the bottom, we're going to work our way up and add loads of drips first. Once we've got all those drips in, then we can start playing around with putting the actual lines in, using the pencil lines as our guides again. Okay, hope that all makes sense. Let's go and do it. So what we're going to do is just take a pencil line from down the bottom here, and we're just going to put a little drip that goes up, maybe just crosses over the pencil line a bit. Let me zoom right in. So we're going to start down the bottom here and just go and put in a few little drip lines. So like down here, look. And this is why I like using the brush pen. You see the different thicknesses you can get with the brush pen that are nice and easy thicknesses to get. Let's do the same over here. Let's just put some you want these lines to be just kind of straddling your pencil lines just a little bit. In fact, what I'll do just down there is I will just draw that line in just so you can see an example of what I mean by why I draw these pencil lines in. So now you see that pencil line that's going all the way across there. I'm going to ink over that. See how it goes into there. All the way across. Back over that side. So you see how cool those drips look, but it still looks like that line all the way across there is aligned and all joined up and not two different things. That's always my worry, is if you don't use a pencil line, you might get that bit and that bit might not be perfectly aligned or close enough to really work. Okay, let's work up a little bit. Let's go up to the next line. We're just going to put a few little drips on here. Don't think about it too much in there. That next line that we're doing needs to be quite a thin line. So let's go and draw that line in again. Remember, nice and thin with this one. So it doesn't matter if it breaks a little bit here and there. See, we're just using just delicately touching with the tip of the pen. Make sure you touch when you get to the drippy bits, but just delicately touching it so we get a real nice thin line. We want it to look like rather than a crease in it, we just want it to look like a fold in the metal. Okay, let's go up a line now. Now, as we're putting these drips in, we've got to be careful to make sure that all our drips overlap each other in a really nice way. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and avoid this broken part over here. We're going to put all the drips over this one side, so it looks like this bit's been exposed. So that's where all the drips are kind of coming out from, okay? And again, just like I say, avoid lines that kind of land on other lines. So you wouldn't want to do a drip that comes from there that stops just as it gets to the eyeball or the eye socket just there. If you're going to do a drip, make sure it comes short and it finishes there, or it goes all the way up into there. But don't have it touching the eyeball, because it will just confuse people that are looking at your artwork. Okay, let's go and add some more little drips in. Remember to straddle that pencil line. Let's squeeze one in here. Let's put another one. Let's go across this side. Just going to put a couple over this side. Like I said, I don't want to mess around with that bit too much. Okay, let's go and ink that line in. Just that bottom curve. So if you find it easier to use a stiff nib for this, then go and grab a stiff nib, go and grab that 0.5. There we go, just joining. See how they don't all have to be exactly, be straddling the line. You see how these drips over here, they all look like they're coming from the front. Let me just get that bit in there. They all look like they're coming from the front and just going past the line. Some of them can be coming right from on top of the line, that's fine. Okay, this next bit is going to be fun because we're going to go and draw the skull drips. So let's move up a little bit. And pretty much anywhere around here, let's go and add in some drips in the most weird places. What about in here and the eye socket? Let's do a smaller one. Looks pretty neat. Moving across, this bit's less exposed, so I'm just going to do little tiny bumps in there. Maybe just a, you can just do like little ones there, just on their own, look, not actually touching a line, just kind of in the middle of the character. We're going to do loads of those when we get a little bit further up. Okay, so just a couple down the bottom there. Let's go round that cheekbone now, so bring that line, taper it out into nothing down the bottom there. Maybe do just a little bit here, don't go too high up because we are going to put some more drips in there. Bring that little line in there, so you can see we've got a big old drip on the end of that cheekbone. That looks nice. That last little line, the one that kind of brings it down into where the gums are, where the teeth are going to live, go and put that one in as well. Last little line down here, it's just the bottom of the eye socket. Both sides, just the bottom, so start about there, going all the way across, just the bottom part. Remembering not to go into that glass section. We'll come to that glass section later. Okay. Let's keep it going. More drips. More drips. Let's have a big old drip coming out of the eye. So what about just here? Look, coming from that point all the way up and down again. Just straddling that pencil line at the top as well. Now watch this next line. We're going to do it all in one go. So we're going to start over here on the pencil line, add our drip, come back on ourselves. Once you get back inside the pencil line, you want to scoop it up again. Let me do that again over here. Look, so just following that pencil line, add your drip, come back on yourself. Once you get back underneath the pencil line again, just scoop it up. Let's join these bits together. So we're going to go around the rest of the eye socket now. Join these bits together. Wonky lines are good. Just go and make sure you go behind all those drips. And hopefully what we can see is, you see the way we did that, where we kind of scooped it up down the bottom. Not so much that side, but definitely that side. You can see where it just looks like those drips are coming from inside the skull, being stretched above. A good technique for drawing drips as well is always have the drippy part. This part of the top here. Always have that a little bit thicker. Alright, it's looking good. Now the original artwork, I don't know who did the original artwork. I've found it. But it's been reposted by somebody who hasn't credited the original artist. So if anybody does find out who it is, then please let me know, and I'll make sure we tag them in everything. And this is only based on their work. It's not exactly the same. But the original artist then had, from coming out from the head there, a great big mushroom. So I reckon we ought to give that a go. So let me I was about to say let me zoom out, but that's probably a little bit too much. Let me zoom out about that much. And let's go and draw this mushroom coming off the top. Now, I'm going to put in a few little drips down the bottom here, and then going to have the mushroom kind of coming out of those drips. So just here, look. Let's go and put in. Throw in loads of drips. These two big ones are the ones where I'm going to have my mushroom coming out from, so let's go all the way up here. Slightly fatter at the bottom, getting a little bit thinner at the top. All the way up there, and we'll deal with the rest of that mushroom later. Just take those two lines all the way off the top of the helmet, leave yourself a big chunk of space at the top so we can have a little play with that. Okay, once you've got that in, let's get in a look close again, and let's carry on with our drips in the skull. Some of those drips can be coming off the side lip. Some of those drips are going to be straddling that pencil line. Let's draw. Do we want one coming out of here as well? Let's draw. Let's draw one coming out of there. Look. Just a couple maybe. What about over here? I think we just need another little bump coming out the side. But yeah, go as crazy as you want with that. Once you've got enough that are kind of straddling that pencil line, then we can go in. There we go. Then we can go in and actually outline that, or ink in that pencil line. So that pencil line going around the top of the skull. You see we've got this cheekbone bit that goes in across the top of the eye first, then we've got that other line that goes all the way across. Just remember when you get to the drips to stop, go past the drip and then pick it up again, okay? So easy at this stage to just forget that and go straight through it. There we go. There's our little line around the eye, and then we've got this line coming up, so it goes into that drip, into that drip. Now we're going behind drips. Into that one, take it all the way across to that broken bit of glass. Okay. We're good. Let's go a little bit further up. We're going to add a few more drips up the top. So across these top 3 lines now. Let's go and put some drips in there. Again, go as crazy or as subtle as you want with it. My suggestion is this one, this first pencil line, we're just going to do those drips that kind of hook up. So like this, so kind of coming from there, up, round, and hook up underneath. So maybe do a couple of those. Let's do one over here as well. Up, round, hooking up underneath. Like that. But then as we go up to the next line, that's when we can go crazy again. So just start adding those drips in. Go big, leave gaps, go small, go right on the edge. Anything you want. Let's do another one here with a little hook up. Next line, go and do the same again. See how some of these are overlapping each other now. I know it looks messy, but just concentrate on one line at a time and it'll be fine. Okay, let's go back now because we've done 3 lines worth. Let's just go back now and tidy this bit up. So just take a little line from there, go behind that drip, next drip behind it, behind that drip, go to the next one, go behind it, next one, and then just fade that line out. We'll pick that line up again a little bit later. Go up to the next line, let's do the same kind of thing, just pick it up from there, travel into these drips following that pencil line, just really concentrate on following that pencil line all the way across, making sure that you don't go through any drips. Once you get to the other side, just fade that line out, and again we'll pick it up later. One last time at the top here, using that pencil line, just going behind all your drips, fading it out when you get to that point. Okay, it's starting to come together. You can kind of see where we're going with this, yeah? Hopefully you can see where we're going with this. Okay, let's get in a little bit closer and start finishing off some of these lines. So, first line we're going to finish off is the first line we drew, actually, the one that goes around the helmet, but it's the inside part. So from here, look, just bring that line up. Join it in that side, and then do something similar on the other side. Just bring that line down, join it up down the bottom. You can see my lines are quite rough and wonky on here as well, so don't worry about that. If you see that kind of stuff happening, that's fine. Rough and wonky will work in this piece. Now with the next line, just come down and I'll zoom out just a little tiny bit so you can see everything. There we go. With the next line, we're going to take it from there, but instead of bringing it into this line that goes across, we're going to take it all the way down to this line down the bottom. This line that goes across needs to maintain how thin it is, okay? But we're going to start going thicker with some of these lines. So this line on the outside, just bring it all the way down. to that bottom line like that. Same kind of thing on the other side. Get past that first line. Bring it all the way down. We're getting there. This is looking good. One more line. So if that bit's not finished off for you, just kind of close that bit up as well. So just bring it in to there. You can see my line's really wonky. Wonky's okay. You'll get away with that. There's so much going on in this piece that you'll get away with some wonky work. Right. Let's go and work inside the helmet again. Okay, so we're going to go and put those shards of glass in first. Now we are going to get the pencil out later to help shade in with those shards of glass. It's going to make it more obvious what it is. So, but let's go and put them in. And now what we've got to do is we've got to do quite thick lines on certain parts. So for example, down here, if we imagine that we're looking up at this shard of glass, we're going to do quite a thick line there, quite a thick line going across, just there. But then as we go up, quite a thin line up there. I'm still using my brush pen, but feel free to go and bust out your 0.5, whatever you're convenient, whatever you find easier to use. But you see how what that's doing there with that shard of glass just makes it look like it's that thick. The glass is that thick and it's broken. We can just see the top of it there. Whereas on here we can see the thickness of the glass. In fact, what I am going to do is, where's my lid? There it is. I am going to go and do the next bit in a 0.5, but I'm going to do the thick line with my brush pen, okay? So remember, pencil lines are just guidelines. If you need to tweak them a little bit, you can tweak them. So here we go. And try and keep these lines, as you do these lines, try and keep them quite long, straight, jagged kind of lines, yeah? Just following that. You know, deviate from your line a little bit if you need to. But that's good. Let's give it another line just to make it nice and wonky. Stuff with just a single line always looks a little bit ropey to me. So give it a double lining like that. And then we've got to figure out, right, where are we going to see thick bits of glass in here? So for example, across that bit, look, let's go and put a thick bit of glass in just there. Yeah, already you can see where I'm coming from with that one, yeah. Down this side bit here, because it's around the side of the helmet, we'll see another thick bit of glass there. Like that. I don't think, for this line, we're going to go a little bit thicker, but not particularly thick. Just there, we only see a little bit of that. Thicker down here. Up top, let's go fairly thin, getting thicker, and then a nice fat line going up to the top there. I think that kind of works for me. You might want to just grab your 0.1, just get into the corners of all these bits and just really sharpen them off. It's meant to be broken glass, so the sharper you can get with these bits, the better. Let's make it look a little bit more like broken glass with. Now I'm going to use a brush pen because I'm going to go from a thin tapered end to a fat join, but you use whatever you like on yours. But for example, you see that little crease that we've got in there. Look, watch this. What we'll do is just take a real thin line that just gets thicker as it joins in. See how that looks like a big crack in the glass now? Let's go and do that again with these bits. See how that just looks like it's cracked that glass. We could probably take that line. Let's get him take it all the way to the side. A little Y shape. Any of those, if you want to make them look a little bit more finished, just add a little Y shape. Like that. That's good. Okay, let's go and carry on. Let's finish off the skull, then we're going to do that padding around the inside. So stick with your brush pen. You've got a little bit of skull that you can see around this side, so let's go and finish that off. Eyes, socket. Definitely that little bit of rim around the eye, and then this line that comes down for the side of the skull. Go and get into the nose as well. And you know, we'll probably colour in those parts, colour them in black in a little while. In fact, let's do that now. I think what we should probably do is just chuck in a couple more drips. The reason I'm chucking in a few more drips is because then there's less to colour. So chuck in a few more drips in the eye sockets, and then let's go and, using the brush pen, colour the eye sockets in black. Nostrils as well, those nose holes into the other side. Just going to make those drips stand out a lot more as well. And yeah, using my brush pen to colour in because it's a lot quicker. You can see how we're losing quite a lot of that thick line that we've got just there. So see if you need to leave a little white line in there, just a bit of a jagged reflection, so we don't lose too much of it. That kind of works. I think that's okay. Just a little tiny bit of white in that skull, in that eye socket. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Let's go and chuck on some more lines, then we'll do the mushroom. In fact, I haven't done a very good job of colouring that bit in. That feels a bit better. Yeah, we're going to chuck on some more lines on the padding part of the inside of the helmet. Remember that line we did for the padding, and then we did that line across the top, and then two more just there. We're going to draw those lines first. So like this, look, just kind of draw a little sausage shape around it. Just get to the end of where the padding comes out, all the way around, back in again. Let's do the same on all of these bits. Just get to the pencil line. Just see a little bit of it poking out there, so let's go and do that bit. Can't see any of it coming out of that side because it's all hidden behind the glass. Once you've done that, let's go and join those bits together. So we've got that little line there, don't forget that. Across there. Follow that pencil line, just go behind your drips. You see how those little bits of those kind of sausage shapes that we did are just kind of poking out a little bit. And across there as well. And then we've got this last little bit down here, look. But what we're going to do now we've got that line in, we're going to draw behind the skull. We're going to colour behind the skull in black as well. So leave that padding bit white, leave the skull white obviously. But then let's get in here and colour behind the skull. So I'm using my brush pen to colour in. You could at this stage, you know, if you wanted to, you could just use a Sharpie. Just be careful of how the Sharpie bleeds. So, you know, use your fine nibs, your fine liner pens to get right to the corners, right to the edges, but then use your fatter pens to get the bulk of the work done. Get all the heavy lifting done with your fat pens. There we go, just moving ourselves across, just making sure that we're not in the padding area, we're not in the drips, we're not in the skull, we're just in that gap in between the skull and the padding of the helmet. Final bit over here as well. Look. Coming along nicely. Okay, I think as the main lines for the inside go, I think we're done there. So let's just move on to the outside a little bit. Let's see these little bits here. Let's go and outline those. So 0.5 stiff nib pen. Couple of little lines going across there, across there. I did a bit of a boo-boo there by having the crack go straight to those lines there. Just normally I'd try and avoid it, but I think we get away with that. That's fine. So 0.5 to put those lines in, and then let's go up top. Should we go up top? Let's go down the bottom here and do the this bit down the bottom. So 0.5. Stick with that. Let's go and put this little label bit at the bottom here, and then I think I'm going to go with my brush pen to do the rest. And I'm not thinking about it too much. This is really not important, this part. This is just to kind of make it, just to pad it out a little bit. All the focus is going to be on that skull. All we're doing now is just adding those extra lines in. Nice and bumpy. Fade them out just to give a bit of an idea of a shoulder. You can put some more details in there if you want later, but I'm not sure how much you really need in there. That'll do for the time being anyway. We'll chuck a bit more detail in there later. Let's go up top now and deal with this mushroom. So with this pen, what we're going to do is just going to take it up. This brush pen still, just take it up a little bit further. So we've got nothing that's kind of interfering with it. And then what we're going to do is put a letter C on it. It's going to start down here. It's going to hit the two ends of the lines. So like this kind of thing. So from about there, hit the end of the lines, hook round, back again. It's just a capital C. But see how that looks like? It should look like the opening of a mushroom. Let's go and join the two top bits together now. Look. With a little shape like that. We've got ourselves a great big mushroom coming out of the astronaut's head. Thicken out some of those lines, make them, you know, double line it, make it nice and wonky. You don't want anything too neat. Always looks a bit weird if you start having rough lines everywhere and then all of a sudden you've got a couple of neat pieces in there. Let's go and add a few more drips. So, you know, and try and vary the drips as well. Maybe chuck in a few more tiny mushrooms. I've just done 3 drips, all the same height just there. That bothers me. What I should have done is one smaller, one bigger, one medium. Just vary it as much as possible. Okay, let's just take one last little look back at our piece. This is looking really nice. So what we're going to do now is just go in with a thinner pen and add some little details to finish this off nicely. I'll start at the top, work my way down. Feel free to copy what I'm doing or just add your own details if you want to personalize it a little bit for yourself. First thing I'll do with my thin pen, this is a 0.1. I'm just going to go into the bottom of this mushroom with some little lines coming down to shade that bit out. Maybe I want to put in a few little kind of spots on the mushroom as well. Let's see how they look. That's not too bad. See what I mean? Just have a little bit of fun with it. Maybe want to put a few little lines just to accentuate the curves of the mushrooms. As you come down, what we're going to do now is just put in some little quote marks and extra little bumps, little baby dribbles, baby drips I should say. Just kind of scruffing it up a little bit now. Let's move down a little bit further as we get into the head. Definitely this bit here is padded, so we're going to put in loads of fluffy bits. So just 2 lines together. For some fluffy bits. Maybe we'll hash out these bits just with some little lines in. Again, don't think about it too much, just find something that's looking a bit boring and stick something on it. Don't forget that little area over there as well. Down here, let's go and hash out these bits. Looking good. We'll leave the cracked screen as it is over here. Let's put some little lines over. Again, just hashing bits out, little quote marks everywhere. Just wanna, there you go. A few little creases in there to make it look like that's a bit of a bend in there as well. Let's work our way. Well, let's get into the skull actually. I want to do some little bits in the skull. Now you could use your brush pen or you can use your 0.1 for this, depends on what level of detail you want to get into there, but we want to just add loads of wrinkles and creases into the skull. See that? So we're just adding those extra little creases into the skull. That is not smooth enough just there. There we go. That looks nice. Just little kind of triangular shapes, little flicks of the pen. Give us all those extra little creases here and there. Don't think about it too much, just go and throw them in. Could be all over the place. Let's do some little dashed lines. Look. Going across our character. Definitely down here under the teeth. Or above the teeth. That nose needs a little bit of work as well. Let's jump into the nose. All I'm going to do for the nose, just a little crease around the top. Look, brush pen. Little crease around the top, little crease around the bottom. Throwing in those little marks, spots. Up in the skull, let's go and do that up in the skull as well. No real rhyme or reason behind some of these, just kind of throwing in marks for the sake of it. Maybe we need some fatter lines in there as well. Look. Just to mess it up a little bit. Little line of dashes, look, that kind of works for me. So it going all the way across the top there. Little extra creases, look, I'd expect to see little bits of shadow. I'm just putting little lines in. Again, we're at risk of overdoing that, so I'm going to leave that. Let's move down a little bit more. Like I said, this bottom bit, we don't have to worry about it too much. Let's just go and put in a few bits though, just to keep it looking interesting. So with my 0.1 again, I'm just going to hash out this bottom part. Going to leave the drips, going to leave them white. Just going to hash out this bottom bit. And then let's go and grab a pencil. Like I said, you could do loads more down the bottom. Let's go and grab a pencil. I'm going to colour in this bit first. So I've become fond of kind of using a pencil just to shade bits of your artwork in every now and then. So let's do that. I said I was going to also use it for the glass on here, so shade that in. If your shading's not looking great, just get your fingers in there, go smudge it in a little bit. You can always rub it out if you go over the lines, get it nice and neat by rubbing it all out. But essentially all I'm after here is just changing the tone of this bit of glass. Giving it all one pretty flat tone. It's going to be a bit kind of cross-hatched. It's going to be all over the place. I'm going to get my fingers in there and smooth it all out a little bit. But for the time being, let's just give it a nice grey tone all the way around. Down the bottom there, leave the drips out. That's okay. Little rub with the finger just to smooth out any of those kind of little dodgy bits. Let's go in a little bit dark around here as well. Definitely darker over here. See how we're starting to give it a little bit of shape. Gone out the lines a few times, so just rub those bits out. And in fact, what I'm going to do now is just quickly rub out all the other pencil lines, just because when especially through this mushroom, look, 'cause we've got loads of lines going through that mushroom. So get rid of all of those, all the lines that are going through the drip, so that you can really see the impact of and how drawing those pencil lines in has helped us add in a ton of drips. They're just going to look really cool. So yeah, get out all your pencil lines, just get right in these drips here. I think I just smudged my colouring in there by rubbing it like that. Yeah, I quite like that. That's come out pretty decent. The only other thing I'd probably do on that, just to finish it off, is just go around the outside edge, colour that bit in black, really make it stand out. So this is like space out here. And yeah, that'll be a finish. So there we go. That's looking pretty cool. It's getting a little bit. That's a better angle. There you go. So yeah, like I say, something a little bit different. That technique of why I use pencil lines, how they help with drawing drips and doing things that kind of overlap those pencil lines while still keeping everything nice and aligned. Right, I hope you enjoyed that one. Don't forget, if you have a little go at this, to tag me in any of your posts or send them to me. Always love to see them. Thank you very much for taking part. I'll see you in the next video.